Great. So this morning's class is a class you could probably do any time of the day, but it can be used as easing ourselves into the day. Um, is around gentleness, which has been the theme this week, and was inspired by a warrior's creed that one of my teachers gave me, which is inspired by the ethics, the honor, the rules of the samurai warriors in Japan, in medieval Japan. And it's basically a list of um, do's and don'ts. And one of them is that a samurai warrior's uniform is gentleness and compassion, which may not sound very warrior-like, but in lots of ways, for example, in the current pandemic, the people that are sort of fighting, as it were, on the front line, are people working in healthcare, for example. I know there's lots of other people as well, truck drivers and delivery people and the post people and the supermarket people. But really, they're sort of fighting a battle on the front line all over the world with gentleness and compassion. So they can be very strong qualities that can also be really healing. And we may all have experienced the power of someone being gentle with us. Sometimes I watched a film last weekend, and there was a scene in it of a teenage girl learning to ride a bicycle. And in Holland, we all learn this when we're tiny, and we're so used to falling over, it's sort of barely registered. But I know that it's quite scary to learn to ride a bicycle when you're older. And the bike's bigger and it's so much further to fall down to the ground. And in the film, her father was being really gentle with us, and it was with her, and it was very touching. And it's sometimes it's the way we learn, or the way we heal, is from gentleness, other people's gentleness. And we can also be gentle with ourselves. Certainly in this lockdown, I've had moments where I've been a bit self-critical, or why am I being like this, why do I feel like this, and then reminding myself, yeah, it's been like 3 months, this crazy situation, and it ain't over yet. So it's kind of like maybe expecting sometimes a bit too much of myself, and being more gentle is a good way to go. So gentleness for you might have different meanings or possibilities or benefits in relation to self-care, and maybe also towards others. Might be linked to other attitudes and qualities, like patience. It's definitely linked to patience for me, and kindness. So we'll start with awareness of the breath. And our breath meditation is a pretty gentle pursuit. The flow of air through our airways can be like a very gentle touch. And air out of all the elements is also quite a gentle element. Of course, it can be a force. We can have hurricane force winds, tornadoes, and so on. But it's generally a little bit less hard and tough than earth, less all-consuming than fire. And water can be really gentle, but also very forceful. So each element has that whole range, but with air usually in its general form, especially indoors. It's very gentle. Feeling the gentle touch of air in your nostrils, throat, the gentle expansion of your lungs, and then the breath gently releasing, body releasing the air. And sometimes one of the gentlest things we can do for ourselves is to stop and pause and notice our breathing. A few words from David White. Enough. These few words are enough. If not these words, this breath. If not this breath, this sitting here. This opening to the life we have refused again and again until now. Until now. And in this spirit of gentleness, we'll take some deeper breaths. And as you breathe out, you might like to breathe out through your mouth or with a bit of a sigh. Gently activating ourselves with deeper breathing. And then you might like to stretch your arms up, or if you're lying down behind your head, you might like to interlace your fingers, stretch your legs out gently, opening up the body, waking up the body, and releasing your arms down. And then we'll do a gentle lying down starting sequence. So if you've been sitting, you might like to come to lying down now. And you can start off with your knees bent. And your arms out to the side at about shoulder level. And the palms, starting off with the palms turned up. Maybe shifting your shoulders around a bit so you feel your shoulders are very comfortable. And we're going to do some arm rolling in a slightly different way from how we've done it before, keeping gentleness in mind. So we're going to breathe in and roll our arms forward. So your palms will be going towards the floor and maybe onto the floor. Maybe you can go even slightly further, so you're kind of rolling over your thumb. And then on the out breath, we're just going to let go and let our arms roll back. So the effort is on the inhale, is rolling forwards as far as you comfortably can, remembering gentleness, and then breathing out, letting it go. So then your arms will probably just kind of flop, roll back in a sort of floppy way. So inhaling, rolling forwards with a little bit of effort. Your shoulders might lift a bit as well. And then exhale, letting it go. Inhale, effort, rotation forwards. Exhale, letting it go. And then having done that a few times, on the next 3, we'll do 3 more. I'd like to release very slowly. So on the exhale, release very slowly and roll back in a controlled way. Inhaling, rolling forwards slowly. Exhaling, rolling back in a controlled way. So the sort of controlled, smooth rotation gives a different release to the muscles than the completely letting go one. So when you've done 3 of those, let our arms just rest there, out to the side for a moment. And then we'll roll our head from side to side. And you can keep your eyes closed as much as you like, or away from the screen. Gaze soft, especially if you are spending a lot of time in Zoom meetings and so on. Look at the screen as little as possible, really, once we're practicing. And close your eyes or look around your room. Rolling from side to side. And then bringing your head back to the center. And then we're going to roll the arms the other way. So we're going to inhale and roll backwards, so rolling the other way. Maybe as if you're trying to get your little finger towards the floor. And then exhale, letting go. So inhale, rolling backwards. You might feel your chest lifting a little bit. Exhale, letting it go. Doing this a few more times with the kind of just letting go. So you flop back without controlling the rolling back to the starting position. And then the next 3, last 3, rolling backwards slowly on the inhale and then returning slowly on the exhale, doing 3 slow and smooth releases. When you've done 3, we'll leave our elbows on the floor and take our forearms up, our hands up, Do a little wrist rotation, 2 or 3 times in each direction. And then we can let our elbows come up as well and move our hands and wrists around a bit more spontaneously, letting your hands kind of dance around each other, twirl around each other. Moving your arms from the shoulders to the whole range of motions. Bend and straighten your elbows. And then we'll interlace our fingers above our face or chest and stretch our palms away. So stretching the fingers, again being gentle with this, just go to where it feels kind of nice and helpful, pleasant. And then we can take our hands behind our head if that's comfortable. If not, you can always take your arms out to the side. And I'm going to kind of support our head in some way. You might kind of place your thumbs just on the edge of your skull. There's like a spot behind my ears, just where the ridge of my skull is and my neck begins, just behind my ears. That often feels a bit tense. And I can just about get my thumbs there and exert a tiny bit of pressure, a little bit of a massage. Might be in the center with your fingertips. So then when we do a small circle with our chin, there's a sense of just massaging those muscles a little bit around the back of the head and the base of the skull. You might move your hands around a bit, fingers around a bit. Going the other way as well, changing direction with your circles. Time you like. And stretch our mouth, open our mouth wide to release our jaw. Relax that. And then you can bring your elbows a bit more towards your head, or you can do this without your arms if you've got shoulder problems and you're leaving your arms resting on the floor. It's a little bit harder on the neck. So you can either support your head or just lift your head without your hands. And take your chin up towards your chest, looking up towards your knees, a little sit up. And then slowly coming back down, releasing the weight of your head back down. And removing your hands and interlacing again above you, in front of you. This time in a way that feels a bit unusual, so I normally do left thumb on top. So I move all my fingers and thumbs, so now it's right thumb on top. Again, stretching up and away, stretching my hands, shoulders, a little bit of a stretch coming into the upper back. And then taking my hands behind my head again, or you can do the same or leave your arms wide on the floor. And again, a little mini sit up, bringing your head up, looking towards your knees or your feet. And then slowly coming back down, releasing that effort. And then bringing your arms back down. And this time your arms by your side, palms down. bringing your feet into position for bridge. And then pressing down through our feet, coming into a bridge pose, noticing how your upper back is. Going up and down a few times, and if you need to be gentle for any reason because you're tired or your back needs a bit of TLC or gentleness, of course you can do a small version of bridge, pressing down and releasing very briefly, just lifting a little bit, go a bit higher. Notice how your upper back feels after the work we've already done. Make a difference to your bridge pose. And then when we come down this time, let's bring our knees in towards our chest. And you can support your legs as you bend and straighten your legs up and down a few times to gently begin to stretch your hamstrings. These dynamic movements and stretches are a good way to prepare the body, warm up the joints, preparing for potentially stronger postures later. And then we can bend our knees fully, hug our knees in towards our chest, and take a rock from side to side. You can roll your head to the right as your knees go to the left, and vice versa. Bringing in a gentle twist. And then whilst we're here, we can do a gentle version of downward dog, which can be very helpful if you've got any joint problems from your hands to your shoulders. So that can be tricky in downward dog. Wrists particularly can be tricky. And also sometimes any problems with your knees or your ankles or your toes. So the lying down dog, I sometimes call it, or you could just call it arm and leg lift. Start from this position, arms by our side, palms down, knees in towards the chest, feet off the ground. And then as we breathe in, we straighten our arms and legs. And then as we breathe out, we can take the arms towards the floor behind us. And breathing in, starting the journey back. Breathing out, hands by your side again. So you can start the movement on the inhale, release kind of into it on the exhale, breathing in, starting the journey back, breathing out, having a little rest in the starting position. If your arms don't reach the ground, you could put a bolster or a pillow or a rolled up blanket behind your head on the floor so your arms have less far to go. Got a bolster, that tends to work really well. So lying down, downward dog. And when you bring your arms back and bend your knees this time, gentle core strengthener, keeping your back fairly flat against the floor. On the exhale, lowering your bent legs to the ground one by one if you've got back issues. And back to same starting position as bridge pose. And this time we'll straighten out our right leg, keep the left knee bent, and just let your right leg release on the floor. Rest your arms any way that feels comfortable right now. And then on the inhale, going to roll our leg inwards. So you're rolling the whole of your leg at the hip inwards towards your left leg. And then on the out breath, releasing it so it rolls back. So similar to what we did with our arms, rolling inwards on the in breath, on the out breath, letting go. Breathing in, rolling inwards, on the out breath, letting go. And then the next three, we'll do the slow release. So on the in-breath, rolling inwards, across the heel, on the out-breath, gradually releasing, letting your leg roll back to the starting position. And that 3 times. And then changing sides, straightening the left leg, bending the right. And about 5 times, rolling inwards on the in-breath and on the out-breath, just letting go. That a few times first. Engaging the muscles on the in-breath, effort there. And then exhaling, completely letting go of that effort. The leg go floppy, it will probably feel quite floppy. And when you've done about 5 of those, then do 3 where you very gradually release on the out breath. When you've done those, you can see how it is to straighten both legs. If it's not comfortable, you can bend your knees again. Again, take a pause, noticing your breath in resting. Being gentle can be about pacing ourselves as well, which pausing and resting be a part of course. Bend our knees, roll onto one side, and coming to all fours. You take a moment to grab some padding for your knees. So in the cat pose, we can go easy on our wrists by coming to our forearms. If that's better for you, or we can be on our hands and gently stretch our back and move our spine. Stretch our front in the forward bend and the backward bend. Cat, sometimes called cat-cow. Gently feeling into your back muscles, maybe having a bit of a wriggle. And then we can go into another gentle version of a downward dog, the kneeling version. So we can move our hips back a little bit, but nowhere near as far as for child pose. And then plant one forearm on the floor in front of us and stretch the other arm ahead of us. And you could rest your forehead on this bent forearm. And then kind of drawing the sitting bones backwards and drawing the straight arm, hand forwards. Kneeling dog pose, quite a nice spinal stretch. You can change sides, just a few breaths on each side. And then we can do a twist from here as well. So a couple of options here. You can do super gentle twist from the cat by just coming down on one elbow and keeping your other arm straight, like this. Some of you will have done that with me before. Quite a nice, easy, gentle way to twist. And then a stronger one is to come down on one elbow, hope you can see me okay, and then thread the other arm through the space below the supporting arm, sometimes called threading the needle. I'll show you in a couple of positions so you can hopefully see. Okay, you can maybe get your shoulder down and relax there for a moment, but if it's not comfortable to rest there, you can do it dynamically, just moving from side to side or reverting to this one. It's almost like a walking on the spot, the gentler version, bending one elbow and straightening the other. Excellent. And then we can take a rest in child pose with a little bit of a side bend. So coming into pose of the child and then walking our hands slightly over to one side. Again, you could, I'm going to my right side, but it looks like my left side on the screen. So I'm bending my right arm, resting my forehead on that, and then straightening out my left arm. My hips stay in the same place, so I'm still trying to rest my buttocks on my heels. And a couple of breaths to the other side. And then you might like to finish this sequence with downward dog. Downward dog is okay for you today. If not, you can do the kneeling version again, or the lying on your back version. So see how you are, and of course it's probably quite nice to do a bit of the walking dog first to get into your legs and into your feet, stretching the calves. And then when you're ready, coming up to standing your own way. Lovely. So mountain pose is usually our starting point. Almost every time we start a standing pose or a sequence, that's the base. And it is quite a gentle pose. It's just normal standing. But there's quite a lot going on in it. And certainly remember when I first started doing yoga and get these very precise instructions on how to stand. It actually felt quite difficult and tiring to stand like that. So noticing how we're standing, does it actually feel quite gentle and comfortable? How are we distributing our weight through our feet? Can we have this sense of kind of rooting down and lengthening up? So there might be a feeling of gentle strength in this pose. We feel our breath again. And then we'll take our arms out to the side. And like we did on the floor, we can roll our arms all the way forwards as far as we can, kind of going into a forward bend a little bit with that. And then roll all the way backwards, inviting a bit of a back bend. All the way forwards, and you can exaggerate it a little bit if you like. And into a bit of a forward bend at your hips and your spine. And then all the way backwards, letting your whole body go with it. Forwards, backwards. And then when you next go backwards, just taking a couple of breaths there. Soft knees, tailbone releasing down, looking up. And then coming out and releasing our arms, shaking them out. Quite a strong and also kind of gentle way to go into a forward bend and back bend, very strengthening for the arms and shoulders. And then a gentle release for this or upper back area and arms and shoulders with a forward bend. And here you can be gentle by going halfway. If that's better for your back. You got a headache or anything like that, or high blood pressure, you might not want to take your head below your heart or not do it for too long. Or you might like to go all the way down, really let go of everything from the waist to the head. And then coming back up, we'll interlace our fingers again. Excuse me. And stretch our palms away like we did before. And then up towards the ceiling. And then taking a little side stretch from side to side. Gentle again, going through the spinal movements. Standing, forward bend and back bend, now the side bend. 2 or 3 times to each side. Of course, you can work with your breathing here as well, exhaling into the side bend, inhaling to the center. And then releasing our arms and interlacing the other way. That feels a bit unusual. And stretching away. And then once more taking the arms up and about 3 times to each side. Going into a side bend. Done those, again we can release and let all shake out a bit. Great. Just going to tip my screen slightly so you can see the whole of me a bit more easily, hopefully. So we're going to now do something for our hips again in standing. So this is called the compass balance. Some of you have done this with me before. And it involves standing on one leg and then with the other foot drawing the points of the directions of the compass on the floor. You could think of it as a clock face. The point is that you kind of stretch your leg out and make a big circle around you, tapping your toes down in different places. And if you get wobbly, of course, you could put that foot down for a second, regain your balance, and then start again. If you find it easy, you can really try and make the circle, the compass circle, as big as possible and go all the way around. So that's a little bit tricky. And if you still find that easy, you could do it with your eyes closed and see how that is. You can do 2 or 3 circles around the standing leg. And then we can come back to both feet on the ground. Maybe shake out the leg you've been standing on. Might feel a bit tired. And then switch over and go around with your other leg. And it kind of invites movement and wobbling, and that's the idea, that it's more of a dynamic balance. Sort of standing very still and controlled in tree pose or heron pose or whatever yoga balance is one thing, but kind of responding and letting the whole body move is quite a different skill. We could call it skill, capacity, ability. So a nice one to throw in. And it's also much more active on the joints. particularly your hips. So when you've done 2 or 3 of those circles, coming back to mountain pose, both feet on the ground. And we can just let our feet rock from side to side a couple of times, waking up our ankles more. And then walking on the spot a couple of times, lifting and lowering into the tops of the feet. So another way we've been looking at gentleness this week was by thinking about lightening up or treading lightly, and not be too heavy about things and too serious about things, which is inspired by an Aldous Huxley quote, which I'll read to you again at the end. I know some of you have heard it once or twice already, but it's a really good one. So this idea of treading lightly also reminds me of walking meditation with Thich Nhat Hanh. One of his instructions in walking meditation is to step onto the earth as if we're kissing the earth. As we go into the next balance, I'd like to bring that idea of treading lightly and really gently touching the earth with our feet into it. So I invite you first to just take a little walking meditation around your room, or even if it's just up and down your yoga mat, with this idea of treading really lightly on the earth. Of course, we're supporting our full body weight, but it's kind of this idea of when we place our foot down, can it be really gentle, as if you're stroking a kitten or touching something really fragile in a nice way. You know, I was thinking thin ice, but that's a bit scary. So in a really nice way, or it might, for me, it might remind me about walking through the local woods when all the bluebells were out and I didn't want to step on them. So sort of choosing where you step, stepping really gently. It might make us a little bit wobbly walking in this way. So it's also a balanced practice. And then you could see what it's like to walk on tiptoes if you can. Because of an old ankle injury, I struggle with that a little bit, but what would it be like to walk or stand on tiptoes? You can always hold on to something, walk along the wall if your balance isn't so great. Walking lightly. And then coming back towards the back of your mat or wherever you can step forwards into this next little balance sequence. So I'll show you first. We're going to step forwards and then step into a really gentle, actually I'll do it sideways on, into a really gentle version of half moon pose. I'm stepping forwards, bringing my weight into that foot. I've done that sort of gentle step. Then I'm going to turn towards the screen and spread my arms out, lift my leg up. And then if you feel super balanced, you could go forwards a little bit, so it might start to look more like the full classic half moon pose. And then coming back and stepping back, and then taking the other foot forwards. Get going whenever you're ready. So this is aware, conscious, gentle step. And kind of lifting up, feeling light, turning sideways, maybe keeping the back toes on the floor. My balance isn't so good on this leg, so this might be as far as I go today. And that's fine. I'm the best I can today. And stepping back, and all the while being aware of this gentle connection with our own bodies. Like, how is my body today? How can I do this posture with a spirit of gentleness and lightness? And it's okay. You know, whatever this posture looks like, it's okay. Earlier on, I was joking that if I can't see what you're doing because your iPad is pointing towards the ceiling or whatever, you can't get it wrong. And as long as you're not hurting yourself, you can't get it wrong. So as long as we're aware of our body, this, what I'm doing right now might not look much like a half moon pose, but I'm practicing my balance, I'm strengthening my leg, and it feels good in my body, so that's fine. And then if at any point you're feeling a little bit tired or achy in your back muscles, your buttock muscles, your leg muscles, which are all involved in this, you can take a forward bend, you could take a seated forward bend. My sofa is strategically just behind me. You could take a squat. It'd be quite nice as well to release your back. And then perhaps have another go. And if, like me, there's one side that's clearly not as strong or able to balance as the other side, giving that side a bit more attention, a bit more practice. It might be a form of gentleness, being patient and trying again and again the posture that's challenging for us, and staying gentle with it. Staying gentle with ourselves. Coming towards finishing up with this pose. And coming back to mountain pose when you're ready. Feeling your whole body in that gentle standing pose. We'll make our way down to the ground, or however you want to settle for your relaxation. That might be sitting. You might be lying on your sofa, curled up, whatever it is for you today. And checking in with your body as well. So if you get on the floor and you think, oh, I'd like a little bit of knee to chest rocking, another little bridge pose, take your time to get really settled with that. Settling into a comfortable way of being for resting and relaxation. And as we really begin to settle into the relaxation, we can continue to use the out breath to let go of any mental patterns, thought patterns that we know weigh us down. And of course, it's even more useful to notice them off the yoga mat, when we're maybe at our desk, feeling reluctant to take breaks, pushing ourselves hard, or whatever it is. At those times, it's super useful to remember to take a few mindful breaths, to let go. When we realize we're getting all uptight, maybe doing a forward bend or shaking things out. Earlier in the week, I was also using the image of water sliding off a duck's back. Letting it all just flow away. And sometimes muscular relaxation can feel like that. So we did quite a bit of this earlier in the session, contracting and releasing muscles. And now we can totally relax all of our muscles. Perhaps it's helpful to imagine you're gently lowering yourself into a hot bath. You're floating in a warm sea. Bringing images of gentleness to mind. Some of mine are the feeling of a gentle summer breeze on my skin, stroking something soft, like the fur of my neighbour's dog. The way butterflies flutter by. Flower petals opening and closing to the sun. A feather floating on a stream. And again, feeling our own breath with an attention that can be as light as a feather floating on a stream. Whilst resting on the gentle support of Mother Earth. Perhaps gravity can feel like a gentle blanket covering you. You may have an actual blanket covering you. A gentle touch of your clothes. Perhaps there are gentle sounds around you. And then gently again, beginning to move your body, or perhaps gently stay as you are for a bit more deep relaxation if that's what you need and have time for. Noticing how you are, making your choice as to whether you come back up or whether you stay in your meditation or relaxation a bit longer.